What's up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Isabel, and today we discuss 3 things that went wrong with Warlords of Draenor, and we also discuss the possible solutions to these problems. Number 1. Leveling. Leveling has always been a part of every World of Warcraft expansion, and every time we felt like the leveling experience was different from expansion to expansion. In Warlords, this is no different. We felt the same way, and the developers have said that they approached a more story-driven questing experience. This involved each zone in Draenor to house a different tunnel-based questing scenario where you progressively unlock the zone's the zone's story, by completing more and more quests in succession. The zones were not locked between one another, meaning you could go from Frostfire to Talador without finishing Gorgrun, or even Frostfire. This was, in some sense, good, and in the other really bad. Don't get me wrong, but World of Warcraft's leveling has always been about choice. You choose how you want to level in this world, but in Worlds of Draenor it's not a fair choice. It's rather choose the good leveling, where you gain rep with Draenor's factions, garrison resources, items, gold, garrison followers, find treasures, toys and all that, or choose the bad leveling, where you try to level by spamming dungeons. And as a tank or a healer, that's what you would most likely do from 15 to 100. By comparison, I leveled my rogue with questing and only questing, with one dungeon every time a new one was unlocked, so that I checked out the content. I reached 100 in Spires of Arak and decided to finish up Nagrand as well, even though I was level 100 already. I had over 25 followers, a lot of gold, garrison resources, found treasures and toys, and had decent reputation with all Draenor factions by the time I was 100. Now, when I decided to boost my Death Knight to level 90, I wanted to tank with him, so I just spammed dungeons. And I'm now level 96 with him, I think, and I have 4 followers. A whole lot of garrison resources since I can't spend it on anything, and almost no reputation with any Draenor factions. I have the gear, however, but I bet that by the time I reach 100 with him, he wouldn't have such an effective garrison like my rogue has. You might argue that I need to construct the tavern in order to level up accordingly with dungeons, and I really did so. I constructed the tavern right away for my Death Knight, but it's not effective since I can only upgrade it at level 98, and until then I'm stuck with a single quest per day that barely gives me any gold or XP. Even though I can upgrade it at level 98 to get followers in, I will be able to get 1 per week only, versus the opposite part of questing where you can get as many as you can. Now, that's my main problem with leveling in Draenor. You either quest, or you're fucked. This can be fixed through various things. Buff up the tavern, give it some passive ability that increases your XP, gold gain, or grant you a free follower every day you complete at least 2 dungeons. Doing 2 dungeons takes the same amount of time it does to do around 10 to 12 quests, and you might find a follower doing these quests. So I don't see the problem. I'm also not suggesting to give rep while you kill stuff in dungeons, but I suggest having the same rep system as in Wrath of the Lich King, excluding the raid factions. If you are friendly with them, you could have bought their tabard and it would gain rep, and you would gain rep from killing stuff in any dungeon. How awesome was that? You had multiple leveling choices. That was great, and you didn't even get punished for it. That's the same thing we need now in Draenor, or hell, even the next expansions to come. Number 2, factions. Factions! In Warlords, there are no dailies for factions. Well, almost none. There are like 1 or 2, but I can't think of any more. This fucking sucks. As I said on the previous point, you either quest or you grind with a bunch of people, rep, or you're fucked. You ain't getting that mask from the Laughing Skull clan, or that pup from the Frostwolves. Back in Mist of Pandaria, people complained that all the factions had dailies and they were exhausting. But take a look back at Wrath of the Lich King. Every goddamn faction had dailies, and lots of them, and nobody said a bloody thing about how annoying or exhausting it was. You know why? Because you actually got something of value from them. Back then in Lich King, you didn't have the LFR to get your epic gear right after you're doing 100. You didn't have upgradable items or cheap crafted items or whatever to increase your item level. There wasn't even an item level back then. If you wanted a spot on the late night Naxxramas raid, you had to grind Argent Crusade rep to get that awesome epic hunter gun, if I remember correctly. It's just that nowadays in Warlords, you don't only grind for the rep, you also get shit rewards in cosmetics. I mean, what the fuck? I grind rep with Frostwolves and Laughing Skull to find out I can only buy a freaking pet and a fucking mask. You got like 1 or 2 items in the real sense of the word, but that you can buy, but they're shit. And you also have the goddamn Quartermaster in Ashran. What the fuck? Who the fuck goes to Ostron before they're level 100? Really? I didn't even do the introduction quest to Warspear before I hit 100, on the main character that is. So basically, you hit 100, you got your awesome blue gear or epic gear, and you hit Ostron and see what you can buy with your hard work, and you see you can buy a companion or a goddamn fucking toy. What the fuck? In Wrath, if you wanted epics, you had to run heroic dungeons, and they didn't have all the gear you needed. You had to do daily quests every day to get that awesome epic chest you needed before heading to Naxxramas. You also didn't have the same daily quests every time. New daily quests and different hubs opened up over time, or when you hit a certain reputation threshold. Overall, I don't think the solution was to completely get rid of daily quests. I say, leave them be, make them so that they give first rate tier rewards, and nerf LFR into the ground. Also, with this new storyline approach in WoD, you can also make them much more engaging and much more fun. And finally, number 3, casuals versus hardcore. So yeah, the constant battle of casuals versus hardcore. Forgive me for what I'm about to say, but I believe the casual content right now is pretty good. It's really good. Casuals I've met never really got bothered by the Apex's dailies or such, because this world is so vast to them and new. They have dungeons to do, rep to grind, garrisons to command, and all that. The problem is, this constant war is that Blizzard tries to meld these two together. It's not working, alright? Raiders or hardcore players and casuals need to be separate. You see, you got casuals. They enjoy doing all this wet work from a lore point of view. They go about and kill the Iron Horde troops around Hellfire Citadel to help the war effort. And the raiders or hardcore players jump straight into Hellfire Citadel, bringing us victory. Sounds good, no? I mean, the amount of time you put in doing those dailies and other casual activities is not nearly enough to raise and maintain a raiding guild. Everyone complains that they should get to raid even though they can't commit to a schedule, blah blah. You want to do something cool, you gotta pay for it. These guys like Method and all the other raiding guilds pay with time. You ain't got time, you ain't getting cool shit. That's my philosophy on this matter. Back when I raided High-Mo Mythic and all that, there was no reason for me to log in at all unless it was raid night. If you're a raider right now in Warlords of Draenor, you just get utterly bored with everything else. You kill Archemon or whoever the fuck you kill, and then Blizzard goes like, oh shit, time to do some Apex's dailies. Hell no, that ain't working like that. My solution to this problem would be to greatly distance the casuals' rewards and the raiders' rewards. Give the raiders something else and equally difficult to their raiding to do in their spare time. They should get Apex's crystals from just killing stuff in Mythic or even Heroic. The casual player gets their Apex's crystals and items and all that from dailies and LFR, and the raiders should get it from somewhere else, where they feel much more important. And they are much more important. They spend their time in the game, they should feel like it matters. I spent my time in High-Mo Mythic, Goat Gear, and for a while I felt a little above most WoW players. But when Blackrock and Hellfire released, hell, you can camp Ashran and do skirmishes all day, and you got your 700 item level gear in no time. That's no fun. Anyway, these were my 3 things about Warlords that I think went wrong. And these are only the most important ones. Things like zones, lore, and all that I did not get included in this video. Thanks for watching, and if you have questions, leave them in the comments. Bye bye. Also, don't forget to subscribe.